Okay, hey everybody. This is kind of my first real workshop, I suppose. It's called Writing an RPG SDK. It's a really fun topic, but it's also very important in terms of integration with other websites, especially when you're working with like JSON APIs. This is basically what we're about here. So it's going to be about writing an RPG SDK to interact with external APIs, external JSON APIs, for example. So let's just talk about why you'd want to do this and why you're going to want to do it in the future. An SDK is the safest way to interact with any API. So if you have, let's say, as you can see in this very simple diagram, you have free programs. Basically, you can make those free programs talk to the SDK, which then talks to the API. And of course, SDK actually stands for Source Development Kit. But an SDK could also be called just a a service program, or an API, whatever you like. I generally like SDK. It seems more fitting in this sense right now. So an SDK really is just the wrapper around all the work to call an API. And of course, it could grow depending on how big the API that you're working with is. Um, but it's very important. It's very safe. It's the safest way to interact with an API. So, instead of all your programs writing each of their calls independently, you can just use one set of procedures or functions to interact with it instead. A lot better. So it is easy to write and generally quite easy to maintain as well. Of course, depending on how big it gets, and it is fun. It's very fun. I love doing SDKs. I've been doing it a lot lately, and I've got a really good flow going right now. So I feel like now is a good time to share that knowledge that I'm using, so other people can make cool APIs, cool stuff for their teams as well. So the tools that we're going to be using, of course, the bias that I am going to be using iEditor 2. Of course, you're more than welcome to use RDI, or if you're still using it, SU. I really don't care about your editor of choice. We are going to be making use of HTTP GET CLOB, although I believe this is actually available on late 7.1. I know it's on 7.2, I know it's on 7.3, and I know it's on 7.4, so you're okay there. We're going to be using a library called NoxDB. Now, NoxDB is an open source XML and JSON parser. Usually you would have to go and build it yourself, but what I'm going to do in terms of this workshop, I'm going to provide the service program to you, so it will be available on at least 7.2. I think my session timed out. So it's going to be available on at least 7.2. And that's the important part. It's really the JSON parsing piece. And of course, the API that we're going to be using is called the Punk API. Now, it's actually about beers. It's hard to find an API that's fun to use. So I'm using the Punk API because it's pretty easy to use. It's a fairly simple, single URL. Has pagination if we wanted to implement that. Very simple API, really just a simple endpoint. Has optional parameters in the URL there as query parameters. The ability to get single beers, random beers. Honestly, the reason I like this API is because it has a complex enough response that it's fun to write about. So, for example, it has things like an ID, a name, a tagline, first brewed. All this stuff is fun to just write about. It has ingredient lists, the yeast that was used inside of it, food pairing. Like, this is stuff that we can write a very cool service program for, a very cool SDK from. And I'm very, very excited to use this as an example. So really, this is just the introduction video about what we're going to do in this workshop, and I really hope that you continue to watch some more. Thanks very much.